Joining us to discuss Sunday's first round of elections in Brazil, I'm joined by Gustavo Ribeiro. He's the founder and editor-in-chief of the Brazilian Report. Thanks very much for your time, Gustavo. Now, a closer result than expected. Do you think this is an indication that Brazil is perhaps even more evenly divided, more polarized than expected?
Yes, and I think that it also shows us that 2018, when Jair Bolsonaro won the presidency, it was not an accident of history. It was not just because conditions allowed Bolsonaro almost by accident to get to the presidency, but rather that Brazil has made a big, important shift towards the hard right, because it's not just about the vote for Bolsonaro, but also governorships went in many places on the side of pro-Bolsonaro candidates for the House, for the Senate. So it has been this, it's interesting because Lula appears first after the first round, but the feeling is it's more of a Bolsonarista win rather than the contrary.
It seems that the power of this race has been in pitting one against the other. What have we heard in terms of policies or proposals that the two leaders have put forward in terms of how it's going to build back Brazil's economy?
Very little. For instance, Lula has only showed a plan of broad proposals, but without getting into the specifics. And he has said time and again, whenever people try to push him into giving concrete answers to what he will do if he becomes president in regards to the economy, he always says, well, I have a track record of 8 years in office. I can get things done. If you want to know more about me, look at what I've done in the past. But the problem is for Lula that economic conditions in Brazil in 2022 are much different from the ones that Brazil had in 2002 when he first won the presidency. And in terms of Bolsonaro, he has concentrated a lot more on conservative values, on saying that he opposes very staunchly abortion rights, LGBT rights, and that he defends the, quote, traditional family values in Brazil. So the economy has not been, even though the economy is the #1 issue on voters' minds, the two candidates have been have offered very little in terms of specific proposals for the economy.
So you'd say it's a bit more of a battle of ideologies here?
Yes, and the thing is, despite Lula not offering a lot of proposals, anti-Bolsonaro voters see him as the best way to unseat Bolsonaro. Anti-Lula voters, on the other hand, see Bolsonaro as the best way to prevent a return of the left to power. So this is a battle of rejections, more than a battle of proposals.
Right. Now, just quickly, Bolsonaro keeps hinting at the possibility of a rigged election. Does a closer race mean more ammunition should he lose by a smaller margin than expected? And what could the knock-on effects be, do you think? Would there be protests in the street?
At this point, it's hard to predict because, I mean, he can win the election. Although Lula may be the favorite, it's far from a done deal. But yes, if he loses by a tight margin, I think he will call into question the legitimacy of the results. Now, I don't expect something organized in the way that the Capitol riots were, but we could see episodes of violence in several parts of Brazil.
All right, Gustavo, thank you very much for your time. Gustavo Ribeiro there from the Brazilian Report.